Das Umfeld für Investitionen in Krypto-Assets hat sich dramatisch verändert. Mit der Einführung von ETFs und ETPs ist es nun möglich, regulierten Zugang zu dieser aufstrebenden Anlageklasse in einer vertrauten Struktur zu erhalten. Ein dynamischer Index der vielversprechendsten Krypto-Assets kann Anlegern helfen, das Wachstumspotenzial der Branche zu nutzen, ohne sich den Herausforderungen der Auswahl einzelner Gewinner oder den Risiken hoher Handelskosten auszusetzen. Ähnlich wie bei Aktien und Anleihen ermöglicht diese Strategie, von der Entwicklung des gesamten Marktes zu profitieren. Wie diese Strategie genau aussieht und wie man eine breite Exposition gegenüber Krypto-Assets und deren Anwendungen erreichen kann, das erfahren Sie heute Abend im Seminar. Und damit wünsche ich Ihnen einen schönen Donnerstagabend, liebe Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer, sowie ein herzliches Willkommen zum zweiten Teil der Finanzen CH Seminarreihe Swiss ETF Investor Days. Mein Name ist Jasmin Menzin und ich darf Sie als Ihre Moderatorin durch die heutige Veranstaltung begleiten. Leider bin ich heute gesundheitlich ein wenig angeschlagen. Ich hoffe, Sie sehen mir das nach. Nichtsdestotrotz freue ich mich, dass Sie alle heute mit dabei sind. Und genauso sehr freue ich mich, unseren heutigen Gast in dieser Runde nun begrüßen zu dürfen. Guten Abend und herzlich willkommen, Samir Kerbash. Samir, it's so nice to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Jasmine. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Samir, you are the CIO at Hashtags and you have over a decade of experience in building infrastructures for the financial market. Would you like to tell our audience something more about yourself before we start with the presentation?
Sure. So I've been at Hashtags since the early beginning, since 2018. My background is traditional finance. I've been involved in high frequency trading, market infrastructure. I started to get involved with crypto and blockchain around 2016. And then in 2018, I decided to focus my career into this new emerging asset class. And since then, we've been working at Hashtags to bring products for traditional investors to benefit from this, what we believe is a generational investment opportunity.
Thank you, Samir. Before we dive into your presentation, I would like to give our audience a few important notes. Liebe Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer, bevor wir in Samirs Vortrag einsteigen, möchte ich Sie noch auf Folgendes hinweisen. Bei Fragen oder Verständnisproblemen können Sie uns während des Webinars über die Chatfunktion kontaktieren. Einige Ihrer Fragen werde ich möglicherweise direkt aufgreifen und an unseren Experten weiterleiten. Am Ende der Veranstaltung wollen wir in einer Fragerunde gemeinsam noch offene Fragen klären. Außerdem haben Sie es vielleicht schon bei der Anmeldung gelesen oder eben gehört, unser Speaker Samir wird seinen Teil des Vortrags auf Englisch halten. Nun haben wir Sie, liebe Zuschauer, aber genug auf die Folter gespannt, denn wir haben heute noch einiges auf dem Programm. Wir wollen direkt loslegen. Samir, it's your turn now. I'm handing over the presenter rights to you, so you can share your presentation with us, and we are very excited to see what you've prepared for us.
Okay, I hope you can see my presentation now.
Yes, it's full screen. Perfect.
All right, great. So let's start. So first of all, it's a big pleasure to be here speaking about crypto ETPs for innovative investors, right? First of all, I'd like to just do a brief intro about Hashtags, who we are, and then we can go into like what is crypto and why we see this investment opportunity, how we think the investor should approach this as showing the index approach to crypto assets, and then why now, right? So why we think now is a good moment to, if you're not an investor, to consider an allocation. So Hashtags, like I said, have been around since 2018. We have a little more than $1 billion in assets under management, more than 20 ETFs and ETPs across 8 countries. And we have the largest crypto index ETP in Europe, tracking the Nasdaq crypto index. We have a very strong brand and a very extensive product portfolio, all focused in crypto assets. So we are a crypto-focused asset manager. We have a multitude of investment strategies. Of course, the flagship strategy that we think it's has a very strong demand by all different kinds of investors is the pure passive Nasdaq crypto index, tracking the Nasdaq crypto index, which is an index that we co-created with Nasdaq, and I'm going to talk about it in a few moments. We have a team of more than 60 experienced individuals across Latin, Europe, and the US. Okay, so we have 4 our senior team based in Europe to support our European operation. And let's go to why crypto, right? So I don't know how much of you have been involved in crypto before or invested in crypto before, but the way I like to see this is we've been passing through a digital transformation of our society. So if you look at the last 50 years, we've been passing through this big digital transformation, going from paper to mainframes to personal computers, then to the internet, cloud computing, smartphones, and we believe that we are in the frontier of a next revolution in terms of digital transformation. And this next wave involves artificial intelligence, involves like more having financial assets being digitized. So passing on, like leaving the paper trail to a digital trail. And this is where we think crypto and blockchain can play a big space. So crypto is a catch-all term, right? So it can mean a lot of things, but we normally talk about crypto when we mean blockchain-based applications that are here to basically the main value proposition that they have is to eliminate the need of a third-party intermediation. And this can be used for payments, but also in many other areas of our economy, right? So this crypto technology enable us to do transactions in a way that is way more transparent, fair, and with lower barriers of entry. And this means that we can democratize access, right? So doesn't matter where you are or what type of investor you are, you could have access to the same opportunities if those opportunities are tokenized in a blockchain. We've been seeing institutions using leveraging crypto and blockchain to tokenize physical assets, investment contracts, and different type of financial assets, because they see that this can remove inefficiencies and this can be a way to increase their efficiency in the distribution of their products, right? And not only institutions, but crypto empowers individuals, right? So especially when we look at individuals in emerging markets, in countries that have capital controls or that go through like like financial instability, we've been seeing crypto, especially stable coins, being used as a way to protect the individual wealth. Okay, so stablecoin is is the most famous application we see right now for tokenization, which is using tokenization for payments. So tokenizing the US dollar and allowing us to do payments 24/7 with a very fractional cost. And let me pass another one. So, and when we see this as an asset class, so we believe that crypto is a new asset class. Okay, so there are 1,000 different projects. Of course, it's a very emerging asset class. That's why we see so much volatility, so much uncertainty, a lot of things to mature on the regulatory front. But this presents also a very unique investment opportunity. So we believe that we are when we're talking about crypto maturity as a technology and as an investment, we believe we are just like the internet in the mid-90s. Okay, so it's a very promising technology. We can see some early stage applications, but still there's a lot of things to evolve on the regulatory clarity side, on the scalability side, and also on the applications. And this reflects on this type of track record. So if you look throughout the last 10 years or more, crypto has been either the best performing asset class or the worst performing asset class, right? So every year, and this we can see every column is a year, and this is comparing crypto represented here by the Nasdaq Crypto Index with other other asset classes that like you could invest in. And you can see this pattern. So you have 3 years of being the best performing asset class, and then 1 year being the worst performing asset class. These have been repeating for more than 10 years. And we are seeing this now. So we had in 2022 a big drop It was the worst performing asset class. And then we had 2023 of a recovery being the best performing asset class. And so far this year, crypto has been also the best performing asset class, right? So this is normal for an emerging asset class. Okay, we're seeing the same thing now for AI, for instance. So you have like a very strong outperformance, a lot of expectations, and this reflects on prices. And then sometimes you need to have a correction. But what matters is the trajectory is very positive throughout. Like when you zoom out and look towards like a 5 to 10 years horizon. And what does it mean for investors? This means that this technology with this high volatility and uncorrelated returns, so this means that crypto most of the time, it doesn't behave as other asset classes do. And this causes a very strong diversification effect on a traditional portfolio. So our main thesis is that if you do a small allocation to crypto, if you have a traditional portfolio, and here in this slide is represented by a 60-40 portfolio, if you include an allocation between 1 and 5% to crypto, depending on your risk profile, you can improve the Sharpe ratio, which is the risk-adjusted return of your portfolio. So this means that the impact that you have on the volatility of your portfolio and the overall risk of the portfolio is very marginal, but the impact on the returns is outsized, right? So this is what means when we're talking about the Sharpe ratio, increasing Sharpe ratio, you improve the returns more than you improve the risk. And this is very counterintuitive for most investors. How can I include a very volatile asset or asset class into my portfolio, and on the end, it doesn't contribute too much to volatility? This is because crypto is uncorrelated to the other assets you normally see on your portfolio. And this is the big case, the big benefit that we see about crypto right now. It doesn't matter like how much you believe in this technology, or like if you what you think about decentralization. The fact that this is an asset class that is investable. There's a lot of different investment products that track this asset class, both in Switzerland, in the European Union, in the US. There's a lot of different products that you can track, and this track record of uncorrelated returns and high volatility makes it a very interesting asset to consider when you're building a diversified portfolio. And when you're considering an asset allocation to this asset class, then the first question you might have is, okay, but which assets I'm going to invest in? Should I just buy Bitcoin? Should I buy Bitcoin and Ether? Should I build a portfolio of different crypto assets? And how should we approach this? And this was I would say the main reason why we decided to found Hashdex, because we were already like very strong investors in this space. But we saw that this space lacked a benchmark. So there was no way for us to just invest in the overall market. So think about it. When you want to invest in the US market, you buy an S&P 500 ETF. When you want to invest in emerging markets, you buy an emerging markets ETF. When you want to invest in the European Union, you buy like an European index ETF. For crypto, we didn't have that. So we partnered with NASDAQ to create what we believe is like the NASDAQ 100 of crypto. So it's a way for you, if you want to capture the growth of this new asset class, you can invest in one product, one index, and this index will evolve as the market evolves. So right now, the market, like I said, it's growing, but still very early in its adoption. We have less than 200 assets with a market capitalization above $100 million. So it's still very in the early beginning. Bitcoin, of course, is the most famous asset, is the killer app, the big application that everyone hears about. But when I compare to the internet, and I see a lot of similarities in how this technology is growing versus the internet, I like to compare Bitcoin right now with the email back in the 90s. Okay, so back in the 90s, the email was the big application of the internet, was the the killer app, the application that everyone talked about. People thought that the only thing that the internet could do for us was email. And when you look 20 years from now, from then, now we use internet for a lot of different things. Email is still very relevant in our society, but by far it's not the application that created the most value to our society. Right? We believe the same thing is happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the killer app right now. It's the application that everyone talks about, that a lot of investors are looking for, are focusing on. But we don't think that's going to be the case when we look 10 years or 20 years from now. And as an investor, we believe you should approach this asset class in a diversified manner. Okay, so first thing, it's too early to call the winners, and most of the technologies are still very small, very incipient. So that's why we believe an index makes a lot of sense for this type of allocation. And again, compared to the internet, we like to bring the Nasdaq 100 here as a comparison, right? So if you look at this history here, it's showing us that if you invest in a benchmark, you can benefit from the long-term winners. Okay, so and what we can see here is that the top holdings of the Nasdaq 100 back in 1999, from the top 10 holdings, only Microsoft has retained its position. All the other holdings have changed over time, and some assets went to zero, like Ericsson was a very popular application when we started, like the mobile phone revolution in the 90s. It was a very strong weight in the Nasdaq 100 and just went to zero, right? We have cases that have delivered very mediocre return, like Cisco. And if you invested in the Nasdaq 100 back then in the 90s, you would capture the overall growth of this this new asset class, this new sector of the economy, which is the like technology and internet. You will capture most of that. Of course, you will not have the same return as the best performing asset of the index. But again, like selecting what their asset is very hard, right? Even professional investors can't necessarily beat the market over time. So what we believe is that the same thing applies to crypto. When we look at crypto, and this is comparing the Nasdaq crypto index in 2019 and now in 2024. So in 2019, the index had 5 assets, and from those 5 assets, 80% was concentrated on Bitcoin. Right now, the same index has 11 assets, and Bitcoin has reduced its weight. So other assets are gaining market representation as the market evolves, as those assets mature, right? And with an index, like I said, you won't get necessarily the same result as the best performing asset. So if you look at this window here, you would be way better off if you just invested in Ether. But then again, it's very hard to make that type of selection, right? So you still outperformed Bitcoin if you invested in the Nasdaq crypto index during this window. And you would, of course, in a diversified way, you would switch your allocations to the winners and capture the winners over time. So that's the beauty of this type of strategy. This is the Nasdaq Crypto Index, the current constitution of the Nasdaq Crypto Index, and we have a product in Switzerland tracking this Nasdaq Crypto Index. It's the hashtag Nasdaq Crypto Index ETP. Its ticker is hash. This product is right now the largest crypto index ETF in Europe. Okay, and this index is rebalanced quarterly, which means that every quarter Nasdaq, as the index administrator, would run its methodology, and assets that have gained market representation could be included in the index, and assets that are losing eligibility criteria might be removed from the index. So this is a very adaptable and evolutive index. As this asset class evolves, the index is going to evolve with it. So if we see Solana outperforming and gain representation, Solana will gain weight in this index automatically. If we see new assets coming in, we're going to see like quarterly new assets coming in if they gain market representation. Bitcoin is now close to 75% of the market cap, and it can either be reduced over time if Bitcoin loses market representation, as we believe it's going to be the case over the next 10 to 20 years, but it also can increase its weight if it's gaining short-term market representation. So it's a passive way to get a broad exposure to crypto as an asset class, right? So instead of having to select your own crypto assets and do an active management of this, especially if you're considering like a strategic small asset allocation, right? If you're doing 1 to 5% allocation, it's not worth it your time try to optimize this by doing an active selection of the different crypto assets. You might be way better off if you just invest in an index like the Nasdaq Crypto Index. Right now, this index covers something like 76% of the total market cap of the crypto asset, right? And it has a very strong performance over different windows. Again, not all indices are created equal. Like this rule-based eligibility criteria makes this index very robust. And also the eligibility criteria makes sure that we're removing assets that are not replicable by institutional investors, that have a stronger risk of custody risk, of frauds. So the index methodology eliminates those types of assets normally. And like you can see here, this is a very dynamic and evolutive index. It started in 2021 with only 6 assets. It like now this year, it ended up having 10 assets, but had 11 assets before. Bitcoin had 80% of the weight, then went to 60, and now it's back to 73%. The weight on Ethereum and other assets are also very dynamic based on how the market evolves. So you can really capture the overall growth of the market with one investment. And then we can discuss why now, right? So why we think that now it's a good moment if you're not invested in crypto, why now is a good moment to consider. So the first thing that we like to bring is that this market is cyclical, right? So it looks like it behaves in 4-year cycles. So you have 1 year of a very strong performance, a bull market or a bubble, if you will, where we have like a very strong performance. Then you have a normal correction 1 year, following 1 year, what we call the bear phase. And then you have 2 years of a strong recovery, only to then start another bull phase, another bubble-like scenario. And if history rhymes as we think it does, we also seen this in this last cycle. So we had 1 year, 2021, of a very strong bull phase. Then we had 2022, very strong bear market, a very strong correction. Then we're having 2 years of recovery. And we believe we are in the cusp of a next bull phase, right? Just because of the cyclic nature of Bitcoin, because of the halving period. So every 4 years, you have the Bitcoin halving. And also, you're seeing technology maturing when you're looking at the other applications of blockchain technology. So first important aspect, this technology is cyclical. But when you look at the fundamentals, we're seeing fundamentals as strong as ever, I would say. So ecosystems are developing. This year we had ETFs being launched in the US. That was a huge milestone for Bitcoin, specifically for Ether. Of course, like the expectations, like it has fell short of the expectations, but still we've seen a very strong inflows into Ether ETFs. We're seeing Solana continue to hitting their development milestone and emerging as a strong competitor in the smart contract space. We're seeing institutional adoptions, so both on the investment side, but also on the application. We're seeing pension funds starting to allocate, and we're seeing a lot of the big banks exploring tokenization applications, especially now with MiCA, the new regulation for crypto assets in the European Union. This is incentivizing a lot of the big banks to explore tokenization of financial assets. We're having Sony announcing an Ethereum layer 2, PayPal with its stablecoin, Visa helping integrate like stablecoins to traditional rails, traditional payments. A lot of things happening on the institutional adoption side. And on the regulatory side, I think the big important point to keep track on is the elections in the US opening up for crypto regulation, right? So this year specifically was a milestone for regulatory maturity. So we had MiCA in the European Union, we had the US ETFs being approved. And most importantly, crypto has become a very important aspect of the American elections, right? So the candidates, especially Donald Trump, saw that there are more than 60 million Americans that support crypto and are willing to become crypto voters, which means that they tend to support candidates that are going to be pro-crypto. He saw that, and of course, he incorporated that into his campaign. And this is forcing even the Democrats and the most resistant side of the Democrats to open up to crypto and be more proactive around regulation. So what we believe is going to happen is, it doesn't matter the election outcome, the regulatory environment for crypto is going to be way better in the next administration than it was in the last 2 years. And this is because crypto is becoming like a bipartisan issue with bipartisan support in the US. And this is going to be very favorable for this asset class. When we look at the cycles again, like any new technology, crypto looks to be growing in an exponential curve, right? So this is the long-term logarithm growth of Bitcoin and Ether market capitalization, right? So you can see that over the years, over the last 10 years, this market cap has been growing exponentially, right? And of course, with cycles, so it tends to fluctuate around this, what we call the fair value regression, this yellow line throughout this chart. And right now, we are in the lower band of this regression, right? So we believe that with a bull market, we have like a lot of space to grow before we enter in a bubble-like zone, which is when you get closer to this red line. Okay, so we are very optimistic about the next 12 to 18 months because of multiple reasons, including the seasonality of this exponential growth. And so, are we entering a new bull market? That's a big question, right? So we believe that yes, we are entering a bull market, and there are key factors that are driving this very bullish momentum. So we're seeing like I said, the Bitcoin cycles, historical Bitcoin patterns, like suggesting that we are very close to a bull market. We are 6 months after the halving, which is historically when a bull market starts with Bitcoin. We're seeing global liquidity improving. And if there is one thing that Bitcoin looks to be very correlated with, is global liquidity. So with more easing on the Fed side in the US, so with the Fed dropping interest rate and putting more liquidity into the economy, this is also combined with this massive stimulus we saw from China recently, like COVID level stimulus into the economy, can be very favorable, can create liquidity conditions that are very favorable for crypto. Like I mentioned before, US elections can be a huge milestone for crypto, and crypto will be better in a better policy environment in 2025 as it was in the last 2 years. So this is going to be extremely positive for crypto adoption. The US being the largest economy and the big entrepreneurial center of the world, we believe that with the US embracing this technology and giving clarity for entrepreneurs to basically innovate, this is going to create a lot of value that can be captured in the prices. And we have the long-term outlook for this asset class, right? Like I said, adoption is the big driver, and we're seeing institutional adoption both on the investment side with pension funds and institutional investors is starting to invest in crypto through the ETFs, and we're also seeing applications. So financial institutions, asset managers, all exploring tokenization of assets. And this is the big driver for growth in applications inside the crypto economy. So as a long-term investor, we are long-term investors, we believe that, the case for crypto as an asset class is as strong as ever, right? So we've never seen an environment where we're so bullish about this technology looking forward for the next 2 years. And then about hashtags, we believe we are since 2018 bringing access to this access and education about this asset class to global investors. We have a strong experience going through the ups and downs of crypto cycles, and we have convictions. We're crypto-focused asset managers, so we live and breathe crypto every day, and we are here every day for our clients to support them. So with that, I finished my presentation here. Thank you so much for this, and we can open up for questions, Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Samir. We've received a few questions from our audience that we should address in a brief Q&A session. I will first read the questions aloud in German and then translate them into English for you. So, liebe Zuschauer, wir kommen jetzt zur Fragerunde. Falls Sie also Fragen haben, stellen Sie uns diese gerne noch im Chat. Ich werde die Fragen erst auf Deutsch vorlesen und dann für Samir auf Englisch übersetzen. Die erste Frage ist, Samir, denkst du, dass uns zum Ende des Jahres noch eine Crypto-Rally erwarten wird? So, Samir, the first question is, do you think that there will be a crypto rally till the end of the year?
So that's the $1 million question, right? Literally. So yeah, I believe yes, and the reason why I just mentioned here, we are seeing a confluence of factors. So global liquidity is increasing significantly. The Bitcoin cycle, so we are 6 months after halving, which is historically when a bull market starts, and the US election can be a big trigger. So people are looking into who's going to win the US elections, what this candidate will say about crypto, and how this candidate will support a better policy in the next administration. But most importantly, people are looking into the Congress. So how the Congress is going to be composed in the next year. This is also a very strong, can be a very strong catalyst for crypto prices. If we see a more pro-crypto Congress forming in, this can be better for policy, and policy needs to come from Congress. So this can be a big trigger for elections. And again, on the long-term outlook, we've seen big applications of crypto. We've seen banks starting to prepare, especially with MiCA starting to get effective in the end of the year. We've seen banks preparing to start adopting crypto and tokenization. So all those things, they look like very bullish, and they look very asymmetric to the upside.
Thank you, Samir. Ja, liebe Zuschauer, kommen wir zur zweiten Frage. Mit den bevorstehenden US-Wahlen, welchen potenziellen Einfluss sieht Samir auf die Kryptopreise und regulatorischen Trends? So, Samir, you gave us some pretty interesting keywords like the US elections. With the upcoming US elections, what potential impact do you see on crypto prices and regulatory trends?
So, like I said, everyone is tracking what the politicians are saying in the US election, right? So most importantly, the presidential candidate. So Trump is a very pro-crypto because he saw that there's a big audience of crypto voters. Kamala recently has made some statements about supporting crypto and supporting crypto innovation and regulation, and this is extremely positive. So on the presidential election side, if Trump wins, that tends to be a very, very strong catalyst for prices, right? But even if Kamala wins, we're already seeing from her speech, her positioning, that she's going to probably put in a way better policy environment for crypto looking forward. So we need to track who's going to win the presidential election. That can play a big role in prices. But most importantly, like I said, we should look at the Congress. So Congress being the elected Congress being pro-crypto or the majority being pro-crypto is going to be very positive for prices in the short term.
Thank you, Samir. Ja, liebe Zuschauer, die nächste Frage. Was sind Samirs Gedanken zur Mika-Regulierung in Europa und wie sieht er deren Einfluss auf die institutionelle Adoption von Kryptowährungen? So, Samir, the next question is, you mentioned Mika. Could you first explain what Mika is and what are your thoughts on the markets and crypto assets regulation in Europe and how do you see it influencing the institutional adoption of crypto?
So Mika is the regulatory framework for crypto in the European Union, right? So it's market in crypto assets. It's a new set of regulations that bring clarity about if you are a service provider and you want to offer crypto services or access to this to blockchain technologies to your clients, what rules you need to follow and what type of license you need to apply to. And this is a very clear regulatory framework, one that will give clarity on payment providers, exchanges, and financial institutions that are working with tokenization. So up until now, if you were doing a tokenization project, if you're a financial institution exploring tokenization, or if you want to develop a payment mechanism using crypto or stable coins, you would have a problem on the regulatory side in Europe. There was no regulatory clarity on which licenses you need to apply to, and even if that activity were legal. And with Mika, this brings clarity. So what we're seeing is that most of the big European banks are preparing to both offer crypto trading and services, so offer ways for you as a client to actually to hold crypto with them as well, and also exploring tokenization of assets to basically improve the efficiency of their distribution efforts. So with Mika is probably going to be a big milestone of crypto adoption in the European Union.
Um bei Mika zu bleiben, wie reagieren institutionelle Investoren in Europa auf das neue regulatorische Umfeld unter Mika? So, Samir, in addition to what you said to us about Mika, how are institutional investors in Europe reacting to the new regulatory environment under Mika?
So the big concern we see from institutional investors is regulatory clarity, right? So they don't want to invest in an asset class if, like tomorrow, the SEC, the US SEC is going to say that this is illegal, they will have a problem. If there's a problem, in his like domicile about crypto and a politician decides to ban crypto, he also might be in trouble. So regulatory clarity is a big barrier for institutional investors. So we've been talking with institutional investors since 2018, and back in 2018-19, the big policy discussion was whether this technology should be banned, right? So there was no way an institutional investor would take crypto seriously if the big policy discussion was around banning it as an illegal technology. Right now, with Mika in the European Union, with the US ETFs, the big regulatory, the policy discussion is how to regulate this, how to bring this into the regulated space. And the more we see regulation, the more comfort those institutional investors will have when they consider an allocation to this asset class. So I think this is a big transformation when you look at like throughout the last 5 years. We're going from a very uncertain regulatory environment where the most likely outcome would be crypto being banned to a very clear framework. If you want to invest or if you want to use crypto, offer crypto to your clients, it's a big clarity. And clarity is what investors want and what investors need to consider an emerging asset class. So I think the big transformation for institutional investors that Mika brings is they can be certain that this activity that they're investing in is not illegal, and they can invest in this. They have a comfort to do, and now they're taking this more seriously than they were considering the last 3 to 5 years.
Thank you for clarifying this for us. Ja, liebe Zuschauer, kommen wir zur letzten Frage des heutigen Abends. Man sieht viele Staking-ETPs auf dem Markt entstehen. Beinhaltet denn der Hashtag ETP auch Staking? Wenn ja, welche potenziellen Risiken sind mit Staking verbunden und wie geht Hashtags damit um? So, Samir, let's talk about the last question of this evening. We see a lot of staking ETPs emerging in the market. Does your ETP involve staking? If so, what are the potential risks associated with staking and how do you manage them?
Yeah, this is a great question. So yes, our ETFs, we have a staking program for all the ETFs and funds that we manage globally. Okay, so and this staking program is aimed towards reducing costs to investors. So the benefit that you get from our staking program is a lower cost, a better tracking of the underlying index, and that's why we can offer something like we're offering now, which is a 0% management fee in the total expense ratio in a product like Hash. So right now, the Hash ETP has a total expense ratio of 0, right? So you will pay nothing to track the Nasdaq crypto index with a very strong tracking difference and a very close difference between an index. And this is largely possible because of staking. And of course, there are risks around staking. That's why we are generally very conservative on the staking side to make sure that we're mitigating this. So it's only a very small portion of the assets are staked in all of our funds, and this is to make sure that this is, the risk is well managed. We use a network of service providers, of staking providers. They are here to support this type of business with insurance policies also to cover like the worst case scenario. So the big risk with staking is something called slashing. So if you are supporting a network through a staking protocol, if you're staking assets to support a network, if you do anything wrong, so if you validate transactions wrongly, if you try to fraud the network, you are punished by what they call slashing, which is reducing your balance. And this is something that is very well controlled under like service level agreement with the staking providers, and also insurance policy to cover like worst case scenarios.
Thank you, Samir. Liebe Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer, unser Online-Seminar neigt sich nun dem Ende entgegen. Ich möchte Ihnen, liebe Zuschauer, noch den Hinweis geben, dass dieses Seminar aufgezeichnet wurde. Sie können es sich jederzeit also noch einmal anschauen. Ein Aufzeichnungsartikel wird ebenfalls morgen früh auf der Startseite von Finanzen.ch erscheinen. My thanks go to you, Samir, for your presentation and for answering the questions during the Q&A session. I'd like to ask you for some closing words for our seminar today. What would you like to leave our participants with as final takeaway?
Okay. First of all, Jasmine, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak to this very qualified audience. If you want to learn more about crypto as an asset class, there's a lot of content on our website, which I encourage you to follow. I write a monthly letter, notes from the CIO on our website. Is available on our website. We're always available. Also, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out via email or for one of our social networks.
Thank you, Samir. At this point, I'd like to thank you once again for your expertise and the time you've dedicated to us today. I wish you a great evening and of course all the best. Und auch bei Ihnen, verehrte Zuschauer, bedanke ich mich recht herzlich für Ihre Teilnahme an diesem Webinar. Ich freue mich darauf, Sie in einem unserer nächsten Webinare der Swiss ETF Investor Days Reihe wieder begrüßen zu dürfen. Das nächste Seminar dazu findet bereits am Montag, den 14. Oktober statt. Bis dahin wünsche ich Ihnen viel Erfolg mit Ihren zukünftigen Investments. Ciao und bis zum nächsten Mal hier bei Finanzen.ch.